Welcome to this week's edition of CEO Corner. I'm Otis Rawl, President and CEO of the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. In early January, our Excellence in Education Committee, along with New Carolina and members of the Chamber Board, sat down to interview Superintendent of Education candidates. Many of the questions revolved around how we will prepare the next generation of workers for our businesses. One of the questions that was addressed directly by the candidates was, how are we going to improve reading scores in South Carolina? Here is their response.
Let me make a side point for a minute. I think one thing is, in South Carolina, we almost have a parlor game of beating up on ourselves. Have you noticed that? I mean, we love to talk about how bad we're doing. One thing about NAEP is to remember is that our math scores in NAEP are really at the national average. Sometimes they're a little bit above, a little bit below. So I think we need to keep that in mind. You're absolutely correct, though, that in reading we have lagged. Now, you should keep in mind the whole nation has lagged. I mean, we've lagged behind the nation, but the whole nation on NAEP has not made the same progress it has made in math. And part of the reason for that, of course, is that reading is extremely difficult to teach. It is the most difficult of all subjects to get across adequately. So my first priority in that area would be high-quality early childhood education and early childhood initiatives. Because one of our major problems is many kids come to kindergarten with undiagnosed issues in either physical or in learning, and secondly, that so many of our kids come to kindergarten behind in vocabulary and pre-reading skills. And probably the single most effective thing we can do is focus very strongly on implementing high-quality early childhood educations and other interventions at the earliest age.
There's no one solution that will solve the reading problem. Part of it is education that goes on in the home before a child gets to formal school. Can we improve the readiness of our children before they get to kindergarten? I think that's important, and that will be a kind of, that's one of the problems that I think needs to be solved more at a local level than at a statewide level. I believe in local solutions creative solutions to local problems. That's what I try to say. But I don't believe that all of our problems are statewide problems, and so that is important. Obviously, we are not doing something right, mostly post fourth grade. If you look at, we can hang with even most of the globe up until fourth grade, and then we have problems after that. Now, part of that is that you deviate more broadly as time goes on, but we've got to get kids reading by third or fourth grade, or they become problems after that. You can correlate income with reading scores in fourth grade. Now, correlation is not causation. I understand that, but it's a pretty strong relationship. Then we need to help kids who don't achieve in fourth grade, and I believe that we shouldn't move students on until they've mastered certain levels. Now, that creates social difficulties, but we can solve those. I would really favor more of a kind of credit-based system. Credit's probably not the best term, but skills-based system where you don't move students on until they've mastered certain key areas. And then I think we'll find that when they get to ninth grade and they're required to read at a high level, they'll be able to do so.
We need to be reading more. We are already doing a few things that work. We need to continue to do it and support literacy. We have, at the high school level, and they're beginning to use this in the middle school level, a silent sustained reading time. I think that's great. Every day for 25 minutes, even the teachers need to stop and read. Keep books stocked in the classroom at all time for kids that don't have access to books at home. Teachers need to lead by example. They need to be reading when the kids are reading, not grading papers. Kids can't do homework during that time. It needs to be a lead by example. In the early elementary years, it is absolutely imperative that kids read by the third grade. If they are not reading by the 3rd grade, we need to put every single intervention program in place that we can possibly think of or have access to, including reading recovery. I don't know if y'all know, but they abolished the funding for reading recovery in July. That was very disheartening. They said it was too much one-on-one time between the literacy coach and the child. Every single child counts. Every single child is important. And we need to bring that back, or a program like that to put in the early intervention measures. But we need to be pushing literacy. Part of the problem is not enough kids are reading at home. And we all know that you can't mandate good parenting. And there are going to be kids out there that don't have access to that at home. And that is where my heart is, not just as a mom, but as a teacher, working with at-risk kids that need an extra adult to come in. And that's where we, as the business community, can come in and help.
You heard me talk about how reading is so fundamental. It's the #1 contributor to high school dropouts. And I think we really need to have remedial programs starting really in K-12. And there's lots of different ideas how you can do that. There's after-school programs, there's summer school programs, there's provisional pass programs. That's where we'll pass you from 2nd to 3rd grade, provided you attend summer school and pass these programs. And, you know, if you have to choose between, you know, music class and remedial reading, music is important, but I think reading is vital. Reading is absolutely the foundation for success in school.